But it's not just the intelligent terrain; it's just thick in the way that every aspect of a building, so the structure, the facade, the program is in this way designed that it will. So the structure will last some functions. It will have different functions through time, but the structure. But for example, the facade has to have an element of thickness. So it can be through material, but also through openings and such things. So it's not only in the structure as a whole, but it's also
thickness can be thinness as well.
Yes.
I mean, that's,
It's not just.
I mean, it's isn't that a problem for every three-dimensional object? No matter how far the dimensions may be apart. Okay.
Well, that's And
so what's the relation of thickness to facade, for example? I mean, the thickness of the facade, should it be sort of thickness that's generating space in between of the outdoor and the indoor, something like that? The Corbusian way of doing facades in Ite or something like that. Joe Ponti is doing his facades very deeply and implements some cupboards and shelves and objects to be put in there. So, are these ways of creating thick facades?
Not only the size, so I don't think it's just the thickness of the walls, but it's also material and the size of the openings are defined by that define the thickness of the facade, I think. So
for sure, yes, they probably will always be, yes. Okay.
Well,
it's a very strange word.
Somehow I don't really see. I mean, thickness for me has nothing to do with multifunctionality. First sight. So that was what was the other thing that you mentioned?
Our assignment is to start with the structure of the building before we have any parameters. So we don't know about the surroundings of it or about the function.
Yeah.
So we have to create a thick structure. And the structure is going to be adapted to parameters we get later.
Okay. So it has to be kind of superstructure that's able to do everything.
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah, it has to be like a sort of architectonic pureness, or maybe the ideal structure that will be used in a certain environment. But that is, it also has to be very adaptable, so you can change things. When you put it in a special in a place, the structure will change.
So it's the relation of structure and freedom in the way that you somehow have to level.
Yes.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah.
You have a catalog of questions, or how's it going to be, or is that already
there? One main question.
Yeah.
That is, to what extent is the structure important for the transformation of the building throughout time?
Yeah, I think it's super important. I mean, it's structure and materiality, of course, which generates the possibilities of change. I mean, I think the best examples are these things like warehouses or whatever, and also the old 19th century city extensions, which are in almost every major European capital now. They're places where they're reused, redefined, and still work as a structure although the conditions of living have changed completely, like in Berlin or something like that. I mean, in earlier times there were 7 families living in one flat, now there's 2 people. So, but more or less in the same structure. And it's always the question in how far structure has to adapt or in how far society adapts to the structure. I think that's a very special relation. So, it's not always easy to define because I would like to argue more the other way around. So, the structure is massive and has to be always the same. So, no changes in structure, but changes in adaptation of the structure. So, of course, that is important that the structure that you then design has the capacity of generating that freedom. I mean, what's probably the other famous example of what does not work? For example, these 60s housing blocks with floor heights of 2.50 meters, and all these segmented elements. And, flexibility is not really possible. But if you, it probably again has to do just with human proportions and spaces that feel good for humans. And probably that would be, of course, a very important aspect as well. And that would be a field of research, I think, which structures are the ones that are successful throughout histories and centuries, and which ones are not. So, what might be the reason? I would really ask the question whether this proportion, this ratio of human to element, whether it's a column or a wall or a ceiling, whether there isn't a certain kind of issue. I would try to think about that.
So, but when you have to, our assignment is to design a structure, but we have the only thing we know is the size of the structure.
The size?
The size.
Okay, that's what?
30,000 square meters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing we know.
Mm-hmm.
And we wondered what other conditions than in a normal building, when you design it, you have several conditions. You have the place and the people and the program, but we don't have any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when you talk about intelligent ruins, the main condition that are put on a structure is time. So you define the different structures are defined in time, but we have to design a structure on a certain moment. So time just falls away. And our question is how do you see the conditions for yourself to design a structure when you have nothing else than the size?
Yeah. Well, I think I could again refer to the first answer because I would always start in the human being. So that's the one thing there will be humans doing something in it, and whatever that is generates certain proportions, and these proportions I think are really to be found out. So to really find out basically whether it's a grid or whether it's on plates and columns or whatever structural system again you choose, it will be always led back to that question: what is the relation building of a human being? And so far, I would not think so much about the structure of itself, but rather about the human conditions that will inhabit this structure, because that's what you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we come back to the word intelligent ruin, if the building is used for one purpose and then all of a sudden it changes, well, what kind of structure would you think of or advise to use?
Yeah, well, first thing that comes into my mind are examples from history where exactly that happened. Like industrial warehouses that become hipster lofts or whatever working spaces. These are very well-known things that where obviously that happened. So the structure was erected. It was like Herzog-Dimmerau's office was former times they produced I think teeth prosthesis there. So then now it's an architectural office, but it happened I mean, structure is the same and it works quite well. So, I mean, these are the things, and these are the things I would study. And I think, I don't know whether in Antwerp there's so much to find, but as I see the city, there's so much re-employment of all structure that you have a huge field of possibilities to do research about that. And again, well, what I would not do is although it works in the background as well, is of course how to get into that. What's, where should be the staircases? Do you need lifts or whatever? But all these questions more or less are secondary. The spaces are right, whether it's outdoor or indoor, courtyard or whatever. So, I think it's all of coming later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.